Kuwait's Health Minister Dr. Bassel Al-Sabah announced today that a number of people recovered from COVID-19. The minister said tests and medical examinations have proven that these cases were cured of the coronavirus. He said the recovered will be shifted to the hospital rehabilitation ward, pending their discharge from the hospital over the next 2 days. Thailand reported 30 new coronavirus cases and 2 deaths on Wednesday. A spokesman for the government's Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration said of the new cases, 19 patients were linked to previous cases and 3 had no links to old cases. 1 of those infected was in state quarantine, and the cases of 7 people who tested positive were being investigated. Since the outbreak escalated in January, Thailand has reported a total of 2,643 cases and 43 fatalities, while 1,497 patients have recovered and gone home. The number of coronavirus-linked deaths in New York City soared past 10,000 on Wednesday after officials said almost 4,000 people who never tested positive were presumed to have died from COVID-19. The city's health department announced that 3,778 people had probably succumbed to the illness on top of the 6,589 confirmed fatalities. The new figures saw the total number of deaths in the Big Apple, which quickly became America's coronavirus epicenter, soar to 10,367. US President Donald Trump ordered a freeze on funding for the World Health Organization for mismanaging the COVID-19 crisis, as world leaders weighed easing lockdowns that threatened to tip the global economy into a second Great Depression. The death toll from the pandemic has topped 125,000, with nearly 2 million people infected by the disease that has upended society and changed lives for billions around the globe confined to their homes. Across the world, leaders are organizing over when to lift lockdown measures to jumpstart devastated economies but still avoid a second wave of infections. The mayor said Ecuador's economic capital Guayaquil is reeling from the most aggressive outbreak of COVID-19 in Latin America after the pandemic hit the city like a bomb. The mayor admitted the city was unprepared for the onslaught. According to witnesses, mortuaries, funeral homes and hospital services are overwhelmed, and the actual death toll from the virus is likely much higher than the official national figure of 369. The city accounts for more than 70% of Ecuador's 7,600 infections since February 29th. Around 1,300 prisoners at high risk of contracting the coronavirus will be pardoned in Chile after the Constitutional Court approved a special law on Wednesday sent by the government of conservative President Sebastián Piñera. The law will benefit prisoners over 75 years old, mothers of children under 2 years old, and pregnant women who will be able to serve the rest of their sentences at home. Prisoners convicted of crimes against humanity and those guilty of homicide, kidnapping, drug trafficking and domestic violence are excluded. South Koreans headed to the polls Wednesday with a big turnout expected despite the coronavirus threat. South Korea is among the first countries with a major virus outbreak to hold a national election since the global pandemic began, and a raft of safety measures were in place around the ballot, as well as affecting the campaigns. The parliamentary poll, widely expected to bolster the ruling Democratic Party's position, kicked off with 43.9 million voters eligible to cast ballots. Voters in obligatory masks lined up at least 1 meter apart outside polling stations and had their temperatures checked before being allowed in. Former US President Barack Obama has endorsed Joe Biden's presidential campaign in a huge boost for Mr. Biden as he seeks to become the Democratic Party's candidate to take on Donald Trump in November's election. Obama, who had not publicly commented on the Democratic nomination process or race, made the announcement in a video posted to his social media account on Wednesday. He described Mr. Biden as a man that had all qualities needed in a president during the worst crisis the world is witnessing. US Chief Diplomat for Afghanistan Zalmay Khalilzad and a top US general paid an unscheduled visit to Pakistan as part of efforts seeking a political settlement to the conflict in Afghanistan. Ambassador Khalilzad and General Scott Miller, commander of the Resolute Support Mission, held talks with Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa at the General Headquarters to review the latest peace efforts in Afghanistan. According to a statement of the Inter-Services Public Relations Matters of Mutual Interest, overall regional security situation including Afghan refugees issue and the Afghan reconciliation process were discussed. North Korea marked the anniversary of the birth of its founder, Kim II Sung, in subdued fashion Wednesday, with mosque-wearing citizens placing flowers before his statue in Pyongyang as the country imposes strict anti-coronavirus measures. The grandfather of the current leader, Kim Jong-un, was born 108 years ago, and April 15th is the most important date in the North's annual political calendar, where it is known as the Day of the Sun. But Pyongyang has imposed tight restrictions against the pandemic that has swept the world since emerging in neighboring China, closing its borders and for a time quarantining thousands of its own citizens, as well as hundreds of foreigners, and insists that it has not seen a single case. Denmark began reopening schools on Wednesday after a month-long closure over the novel coronavirus, becoming the first country in Europe to do so. Nurseries, kindergartens and primary schools were reopening, according to news reports, after they were closed on March 12th in an effort to curb the COVID-19 pandemic. However, classes are only resuming in about half of Denmark's municipalities and in about 35% of Copenhagen's schools, as others have requested more time to adjust to health protocols still in place. France announced on Wednesday major international creditors will relieve the world's poorest countries of debt payments this year to help them deal with the coronavirus pandemic that has sparked the steepest downturn in the global economy since the 1930s. French President Emmanuel Macron on Wednesday called for a moratorium on the debt of African countries as an essential step to help the continent get through the coronavirus crisis. French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire told reporters finance officials from the US, China and other Group of 20 major economies are expected to finalize the agreement when they meet online on Wednesday. He said some 76 countries, including 14 sub-Saharan Africa, would be eligible to have debt payments worth a combined $20 billion suspended by official and private creditors, with the remaining $12 billion in payments due to multilateral institutions still to be sorted out. The White House says US President Donald Trump will convene a video meeting of G7 leaders on Thursday to coordinate responses to the coronavirus. The leaders of the leading industrialized democracies first met over video link in mid-March to discuss the crisis. The US holds the rotating chair of the group and was forced to cancel this year's in-person meeting because of the pandemic. The group of 7 nations consists of the United States, France, Britain, Italy, Canada, Japan and Germany, and all 7 of them have been hit hard by the virus. White House spokesman John Deere said the meeting would aim to coordinate national responses to COVID-19.